Good afternoon, everybody. I know quite a few of you, and it's nice to connect again. I'm here today on behalf of Aki Energy. It's a social enterprise that I helped to co-found back in 2013. We've installed $14 million worth of ground source heat pumps on First Nations. The CEO, Darcy Wood, the former chief of the Garden Hill First Nation, was unable to make it today and asked me to present on his behalf. So I extend greetings to you from him. I just have a few minutes, 10 in total. What I wanted a bit to say is around the idea of social enterprises and how profound they are. And it's a global movement, really. They think of social enterprises as nonprofit businesses. And it's a really great business model for doing work on First Nations because it helps address capacity issues. And at the same time, First Nations are quite tired of businesses coming in from outside and not working in a way to build capacity or to improve conditions on First Nations. We're headquartered at this beautiful building, the Social Enterprise Center in Winnipeg's North End, 30,000 square foot industrial complex for social enterprises. Build is one of the social enterprises there. And this is a lineup of people dropping off resumes at Build to work there. Build is sort of the Winnipeg version of Aki Energy. It's older, it's founded in 2006. And we've lowered utility bills in 10,000 low-income households in Winnipeg, both energy insulating, but all some high-efficient natural gas furnace installation and also water retrofits. Build does a lot of other kinds of work as well, including apartment turnovers for Manitoba Housing. In fact, our group of social enterprises now does about $6 million a year for Manitoba Housing. And it's a relationship, it's called social procurement. That's a very, very exciting. Winnipeg is now the last major city in Canada to have a social procurement policy. They're moving slowly in that direction, but I think it's quite exciting both for the sustainable buildings industry, but also for poverty reduction initiatives. And you can see this lineup, it's very exciting in that there's a lot of people who aren't working in Winnipeg now and they want to work, and the green economy is an excellent place to connect them to, because I do feel that Winnipeg's defining issue is connecting the people who most need the work with the work that most needs to be done, including people like Chris and David here, who got their start in carpentry, insulating basements in Winnipeg's North End. Aki Energy was founded in 2013, and we recognized that we needed to get going on First Nations. And these are all the First Nations where we have done work. Most of the single-family dwellings that we've installed ground source heat pumps are in southern Manitoba, mostly around Fisher River Cree Nation and Peguis First Nation. And we started using this financing model. Funding is a very great tool for trying something out or for testing something. It's a very poor tool, money tool for scaling things that we know that work very well. And we worked with Manitoba Hydro in this pay-as-you-save model, and this is the tool by which we've done most of the financing of the ground source heat pumps. And it's really a very, very powerful tool. Manitoba Hydro provided us with resources up front, and they put a charge on the utility bills, which they continue to collect until they get all their money back. And what's left over is net savings. And I think this is the type of tool that can be used in Winnipeg and elsewhere to really make a business case for ending the expansion of natural gas service, especially to new homes, where the low-hanging fruit really resides. The downside of this model is that it only captures one benefit of our Aki Energy's work, and we also employ a lot of people that were previously on social assistance. There's the carbon reductions, the employment benefits, and so and benefits to Manitoba Hydro. So we're able to develop a new tool to really capture what we think is the business opportunity here in Manitoba. But we've gathered a lot of housing experts and First Nations, and we feel that there are quite easily 10,000 houses in Manitoba alone that are very good fit for ground source heat pumps using a model similar to what I'm talking about, and keeping in mind that the net cost to government is actually negative by using really clever financing tools such as pay-as-you-save financing. The tool that we're talking about, I've written in my most recent book called The Beautiful Bailout. And I'll put the website where I'm working now is encompass.coop, where you can get more information about the book. But it introduces a brand new tool, which I think connects poverty reduction efforts to the green economy. It's very exciting for people in our community, sustainable buildings. And what it does is give us a mechanism to capture all of the benefits of green buildings and green economic projects. And just to look at the 428 houses that Aki Energy installed between 2013 and 2017, you can see these massive reductions across many different systems. And I think for nonprofits, social enterprises, social entrepreneurs, green entrepreneurs, the way that we're going to be able to scale our business and to really grow quickly and broadly and to really seriously tackle the climate change problem, turn it into an opportunity, is to find a money mechanism that will value all of the benefits that our work provides. And so you look at Aki Energy's value propositions, it's not just utility bill reductions. And we're working towards a system where we can send invoices to all these different agencies and have them pay a portion of the benefits that they are enjoying as a result of our work. And I think that's a model that's quite exciting for your membership. And I would encourage you to get a bit more information to look at my recent book or our website, where there's podcasts, interviews, and other presentations on there on how to use this tool called community-driven outcomes purchasing. It's a really powerful tool, and we're using it in other contexts as well, and happy to talk a bit more about it. But thanks, Laura, for the invitation, and look forward to Ken's presentation and hearing any questions or comments that people might have.
Wow, thank you so much, Shaun. Way to nail the 10-minute time. So we're just going to transition over to Ken here, who is going to give the next presentation. Ken, you've got the floor. Take it away.
Okay, hi, I'm Ken Einarsson. I'm the manager of engineering here for Indigenous Services Canada in Manitoba. In Manitoba, we do roughly about $200 million worth of capital works projects in Manitoba. That's not including minor capital and housing. So major capital, we look at schools, roads, base infrastructure, hydro development. So we kind of do the full gamut of things, and we are seriously looking at sustainable projects within the region because they do have benefits, especially in today's climate. Right now, projects that we are doing, we have two school initiatives. One is called the Manitoba School Initiative. That comprises of 4 communities: Bonabonabee, God's Lake, Mantissippi, and Wasagamag. We're building 4 schools, and they are all LEED certified to silver. And then we're also and those schools would be finished this year. And then next year, there's another 3 more schools, which is on the Lake Winnipeg School Bundle, which are the communities of Poplar River, Blood Vein, and Little Grand Rapids. They'll be finished next year, and they also will be LEED Silver designated. So for the most part, the majority of our schools that we do build, we do build to a standard of LEED Silver, but this is kind of the first time we're looking at the certification and going through the proper certification process to ensure that these schools are truly designed to LEED Silver. So we'll have green buildings here and very energy efficient buildings. Other fronts that we are looking at is on the energy sector, and we have funded several projects in the past, or other departments with us have funded. Like one, we do have Fisher River First Nation does have a solar array in the community, which is 1 megawatt, which they do work with Manitoba Hydro on a power on a power sharing deal with them, and from current, that is a very successful project. And other communities that we are working with are our diesel communities, which are Lac Brochet, Barren Lands, Say-Say-Dene, and Shamattawa. In all four of these communities, the existing diesel generation was installed roughly about 20 years ago, and we're getting to the time where these plants have to be expanded. Rough estimates to expand these plants are roughly in the order of about $300 million. By looking at some sustainable projects to kind of extend the life, we could potentially gain 5-10 more years by looking at solar, potentially geothermal, and some biomass type of projects in these communities. One community that has kind of moved forward in this front was Lac Brochet, which is a community of about 725 people on reserve. They do have a solar array of roughly 282 kilowatts. They do have geothermal also, and they have 140 kilowatts of geothermal in the community, and they have the biomass heat. They have two boilers at 910 kilowatts, which they have. So that's roughly about they have roughly about 2 megawatts of biomass. So the band has successfully been working on that for the last couple of years, and they are looking to extend their processes. The other three communities, Brochet, Say-Say-Dene, and Shamattawa, they're a bit further behind, but they are actively looking at options to look at energy, because these communities do have quite a bit of diesel brought in, because like Shamattawa, for instance, on the community side, they bring in 1.5 million liters of fuel a year, diesel fuel, and on the energy side, there's about 3 million liters of fuel, diesel fuel brought in to service Shamattawa. So that's basically an environmental hazard, potentially, if spills were to occur, because there's 4.5 million liters in the community. The other communities are a bit smaller, because they have roughly about, the other three have roughly about 1 million liters each in community fuel, and roughly 2 million liters for electricity. So they're each roughly about 3 million. With by going on the energy front, we potentially could reduce the electricity side of the fuel. The home heating is a little bit harder to reduce, because you got to go to each individual house for that one. but those are the issues that we're looking at. Right now, the department is looking at potentially getting funding to do more sustainable projects, within Manitoba and other regions in Canada. We're looking at through our climate change adaptation programs. So hopefully in the next year or a couple of years, you will see more initiatives from the department to look at sustainable projects. Because we did introduce one sustainable initiative last year, and that should come out for this fall. But you should see more projects in upcoming future, because bands all over Manitoba have been talking about these initiatives, and they would like to get more involved. We probably have about 15 bands that have been asking and talking with the department on sustainable projects, and we are actively looking to work with these communities to get these sustainable projects on the go with them. So if there's any questions you have, I'm willing to take any questions.
Excellent. So I'm going to add Shaun so we can hear any questions that we have from the crowd on either presentation. So you can either put a star in the chat and I can call on you. You can put your question in the chat, or you can just unmute and let's see how that goes. Oh, this is the moment that elevator music would be really helpful. Da, 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 da.
I can just comment quickly, Ken, nice to see you. When I'm listening to Ken talking, it's just phenomenal, the amount of economic opportunity that's available in the green sector in Manitoba, northern Manitoba. I mean, break it down, inner city in Winnipeg, it's truly impressive. We just got to get governments to see that creating green jobs in Manitoba and connecting it especially to addressing Indigenous unemployment makes far more sense for everyone, not just the planet, but taxpayers, Indigenous families, than importing fossil fuels from outside Manitoba. It doesn't seem to me to be a complicated opportunity, but we do have governments that can't quite get their head around it.
Yeah, like we are actively looking at these opportunities. Like say this year, for example, winter roads are closing, or they're closing. Well, they have closed. We still haven't got all our fuel into the diesel communities.
Yeah.
So if you just do your quick math, like Shamarva, 4.5 million liters, a tanker is 28,000 liters. Divide 4.5 million into 28,000. That's how many tankers we got to get into the community.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Aki Energy did spearhead the project that you did such a great job of describing in Lac Brochet, Northlands, the Naceland First Nation. And meanwhile, lots of heat available to extract below the ice in the water, and burnt forest to be harvested and wood chipped for biomass and solar, as you say. So yeah, let's hope that 5 years from now we're talking about projects like what you described in Lac Brochet all across Canada. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah, that is actually quite exciting, because like in Lac Brochet, we are looking at we are in the process of doing a subdivision right now, and we are looking at installing the heating loops within the subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
So so it's gonna be like a green subdivision. So.
Yep, and you have more experience with this than I do, but we certainly see governments setting up tenders, which seem to me to be designed to bring in companies from the outside. And we've really got to get governments to engage Indigenous businesses and social enterprises on a value basis, because we bring so much more to the table than just the infrastructure projects themselves. The building of the capacity and in addressing chronic unemployment has to be of value as well.
Yeah, that is a value, because we do have processes in place to look at that, and plus we, like if you read the paper in the last month or so, that's been an issue, and right now that is being looked at to look at some form of best value bid, as opposed to going to the lowest tender.
That's good to hear.
So
I have a comment.
yes.
It's good to meet you, Ken, virtually anyways.
Yes.
And I have had some involvement in the Northlands Lac Rocher project. And my observation is, having worked there for about 5 years in the community, now this operation is the largest employer in the community. And more people harvesting the wood, transporting it across the lake, managing the heat plant. And my observation of the change in the character in the community has been really profound. Like that, you can see it in the faces of the young people, that they have a sense of hope, aspiration. There's something in the future. So that's just my observation. I wanted to share that.
Okay. Yeah, and there was a question here that about eliminating diesel. One of these days we may eliminate diesel, because the technology is up and coming, the solar and all that, but at this time we do think it's a little too risky to totally eliminate diesel, to go to alternate energies, to 100% alternate energies. There probably has to be some sort of mix, that's what we are taking steps towards it, like that's why we're looking at these these projects, these energy type projects, so there's more alternate energy projects that will use up the community's energy requirements, so it's not 100% diesel, it's someplace in between, and then maybe over time, as the technology becomes more sustainable, it could be 100% alternate energy.
What we're encouraging governments to think about is to move away from trying to identify what the technological solutions are, and instead just simply say, like if governments were able to say that we agree to pay for renewable electricity or renewable heat what we were going to pay anyway. That creates a market for solutions, and it opens up a revenue stream to attract investment into these communities for social enterprises, First Nation owned utilities to partner with experienced companies to deliver the renewable heat and the renewable electricity, and can do it. And you're right, Ken, and it's good to do it on an incremental basis as people get comfortable. It's also good to, like we've done in Lac Rocher, to provide backup. So the biomass system backs up the lake-based geothermal system. But if the markets are there, then we're going to be able to do much more than if we stick to a funding approach. And I think we'll see First Nation owned utilities that are providing their own renewable heat and renewable energy and creating employment, which Kurt, great observation about this project in Northlands, Deniseland First Nation being such a great employer.
Yeah, because that's the way that we are going, because like one of the issues that we do have, especially with diesel, like diesel is extremely dirty. I haven't totaled the dollar value up, but I would guesstimate that we've probably spent $40–50 million in just fuel contamination cleanup. So by moving to greener energies, we don't have to do as much cleanup.
So Lee's asking about district geothermal system. Yes, it is. The loop is buried in the lake.
Yes.
So just because it's so far north, there isn't that balancing of heat going back into the land, and we didn't want to interfere with that permafrost. So it's similar to what's at the forks. The loop is put in the bottom of the water body, and when it's minus 20 outside, below the ice, the water is above zero, obviously, or it would be frozen. So, and I think there's a cluster of 14 buildings that are hooked up to the lake-based geothermal system. It's very exciting. And the lake-based geothermal system is backed up by a biomass system, which in and of itself has its own backup. So, but I really encourage people not to focus on the technological solution. The problem isn't the lack of technology. We've had First Nations did a very nice job of heating their buildings before contacts. And that part is not the problem. And the tendency is to think, oh, this is a lack of technology, or we need new technology. The problem is how the money is moving. It's moving in a very colonial fashion and moved in a way to benefit companies from outside. And we've got to set up the revenue streams so companies like Ken's can realize the business opportunity of working with First Nations so that they are able to deliver their own renewable heat and renewable energy, and let them figure out whatever is the most appropriate technological solution. But you can read in some of my books, like An Army of Problem Solvers, how the government of Canada came along and told Aki Energy, you can't use the pay-as-you-save system. In other words, they're saying everyone in Manitoba can use Manitoba Hydro's pay-as-you-save system unless you're a First Nations family living on a First Nation. So it's very colonial. And we've got to make sure that First Nations have all the same tools that the rest of us have. And I think utilities are a big part of that. And wouldn't it be exciting to see a First Nations owned and operated utility that is working with these 4 off-grid communities in Manitoba, and seeing people like Ken driving that process?
Yeah, that we do see the benefit there, because there are other benefits there with the increased employment. It would lessen our need for social, because right now the department, the 2 major areas where our funding is education and in social. We do like to get employment within the community, because that does help our social rates, because social rates are climbing. Which in reality, social rates should not be climbing. They should really be decreasing, but there is a lack of economics within most First Nations.
So, and I think
some First Nations do have good economics, but majority do not.
And that's what's exciting, I think, about the tool that Aki Energy is using, is that we're not just selling utility bill reductions. We're also selling a reduction in social assistance because we're hiring people off of social assistance. So we can actually get paid for that.
Yes. Yeah. And that we do see that benefit.
Yeah. And Brian is raising a good point about the property assessed clean energy, which is a very powerful tool. For sure, it's very similar to pay as you save. I think that a utility approach is even more valuable, because a utility can drive down the costs as opposed to doing one-offs. It can work with industry to significantly reduce the per unit costs and completely remove any kind of risk that's associated to the homeowner or building owner of installing renewable energy. But yeah, the property assessed clean energy, a very powerful tool. Brian, I'm glad that you raised that. It's in the chat there. There's a quick link. I've seen that website before. And I know jurisdictions like Halifax are using it to promote solar, which is super.